What's up, everybody? Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we're going to take a look at our boy who's coming up here soon, the Prince of Iria, the second prince, the forgotten prince, the schemer, the manipulator, Lutfi. Now, I'm really stoked about Lutfi. He's got a lot of really cool things in his kit, and so I'm really eager to look at him, break them down, give you a ranking as far as how they fall, the power scale, and then of course give you a slight, my opinion on what links he could have as far as tarot and whatnot. So without any further ado, let's get into it. First and foremost, we got to look at his trait right here. It's called Smiling Mask as of right now. And so when we look at it, when the action starts, they forcibly select 3 random enemies within 3 grids of themselves and remove their alert skill. Before attacking, for each debuff the target has, the attack of the player will be increased by 5% up to 20%. After using a support or debuff skill on an enemy, for each debuff the target has, the player will be given 5% of the physical attack value of life loss. The effect is increased up to 15% of their physical attack value and lasts for 1 round and can be triggered 4 times per round. Now, of course, this gets better and better as we rank up, and you see right here, this has an effect on his planning duration. It reduces it to 2 rounds instead of 3. That's something we'll talk about here shortly, where he's able to basically use different skills, checkmate, and then decoy, but planning prevents him from using those skills, and inherently it has a 3-turn cooldown. At 5 stars, we're just going to skip on down here. His attack is increased to 10%. At the start of the action, he forcibly selects 4 random enemies within 6 squares, removes their alert status, and applies level 2 debuffs. A level 2 debuff that lasts for 2 rounds. The planning duration is reduced only to 1 round, and at the end of the action, he gets 1 energy restored, just period dot for free. Before attacking, each debuff on the target increases his attack by 5% up to 40%, and then after utilizing a support or debuff skill on the enemy, for each debuff it increases it gives a 5% physical attack life loss up to 35% of his physical attack value, and this can be triggered up to 4 times per round. This is massive. His trait is got a lot to unpack. It does a lot for him, and this is, for me, an absolute 5-star trait. Now, I'm looking at his skills past that. We look at his inherent skill. We got all is fair in war. And so what this is going to do is it's going to give him a dodge. It's going to give him a counterattack. And then each time he gets attacked, he teleports behind the enemy to deal damage. And then from what I'm seeing, which is untested, it has no limit as far as how many times it can be activated. So it's similar to Sophia's dodge, with the exception that he's moving in retaliation. And so it's really interesting. It's really cool. No limit on the dodges. It has a 3 energy costs, which is a little high, you could argue, but still interesting and good nonetheless, with no cooldown. Now, then we got Ultimate Blade, and so this is going to do 150% physical damage. And then, of course, if they're injured, he gets a crit rate up, and then, of course, he ignores their assist. And so that's great, so they can't get any kind of coverage. And there's no cooldown on this. This ability seems like it's a pretty decent attack. Then he gets a summon, where he can summon a bodyguard. It's much like Anana's Princess's Guard. That's fantastic. This is a unit that, from what I can read, you're going to be able to control, utilize, that has its own assisted cover, and so on and so forth, and even knockback. I'm not sure. We'll know when we test, but this is really powerful and really good for numerous reasons. So this is a fantastic ability there too. He gets access to an aura. It's going to give that critical strike damage, and then he gets alienation, which is a passive where he targets 3 random enemies within 3 squares, and he gives them debuffs. Vulnerable 3 for 1, which is absolutely massive, and then of course no passives, and then attack down 2. Really good stuff there. Energy recovery: when actively attacked, your damage received is reduced by 8%, and then being actively attacked, you gain 1 energy. This is fantastic to see. I'm eager to see how this plays. If this works with All Is Fair, he could potentially solo maps without even having to attack. You just use All Is Fair, have this reaction, and every turn you're going to be able to reuse All Is Fair as long as no one's able to use any AoEs and smack. Who knows? It's going to be fun to test. I can't wait to see what it can do. And then, of course, you have Confused, which I think this is called something else in one translation I had read. But regardless, at the end of the action, if this action has not caused any damage, 1 random level 2 debuff and life loss of 40% physical attack value is applied to 3 random enemies within 3 grids. That's huge. And so as long as he's not actively attacking and doing anything, at the end of his action, he's going to just put life loss on all kinds of enemies around him. Lutfi's looking really cool for that reason, really big. Of course, he gets access to this aura, and this is a new leadership aura for Alacrity units. Really nice to see. It's definitely something different. And then when, what it does is when you're actively attacking, you release support or debuff skill. The enemy has 3, or if the enemy has 3 or more debuffs, their attack is increased by 18%. And it says they gain strategy. I don't know enough about this. I tried looking into it and reading a little bit more. I was kind of confused. I'm not sure what to make of it just yet, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But the aura is nice. It's something different. I always like getting more auras and having more options. Then we have right here this skill. It's called Introduction. And so this is the skill that is Decoy. And what it's going to do is it's going to move. It's an AoE move all those enemies just like a combo into one location, apply a move down 2, and then no active skills debuffs on them. And then Lutfi is going to become basically invulnerable. He's going to be decoyed, so he's going to be invisible unless he utilizes a move. Then it'll break it, and he cannot be targeted during that time. So that's an interesting ability, and that he's going to be able to pull all those enemies to his location and then basically be untargetable for a time. So really interesting to see that there. And of course you're getting those debuffs, so it's going to synergize well with his trait. Next we got Flash General, and so this is a really crazy ability to read, especially in translation. But from what I can gather and see, he's going to do a single target attack. It's going to do 100% damage and inflict a debuff. And then if it triggers a strike back, he's going to dodge and avoid that strike back and follow up with more damage while retreating 1 tile. This seems pretty big because from what we can see, or what I have read in the translations and discussions, it looks like this skill is going to allow him, if used, to avoid damage from AoE attacks like barrels and terrain effects. So we'll see how it plays. That's really interesting and to see, and I'm sure there's at some point or another it's going to have some good utility. Next is Dark Chess. And so this steals 3 buffs from the enemy and inflicts 1 random level 2 debuff, and then life loss of 80% of his physical attack. From what I can tell, it's single target. It's more life loss, heavy life loss at that, and debuff. This seems like a decent ability to throw into the mix and to have as an option. Checkmate is technically his ultimate ability. It comes in at 4 energy costs, and from what we can tell, it has no cooldown. Teleports behind an enemy, dealing 4 100% AoE damage rolls to all enemies within 2 squares. If the same target is attacked repeatedly, the target's damage is reduced by 50%. And so before attacking, the critical hit rate and critical hit damage is increased by an additional 50%. And then after attacking the player affected by the player is affected by planning for 3 rounds. So this is that other ability other than decoy that procs that and puts him into planning, which once again with the trait maxed at 5 stars, that's only going to be 1 round instead. But that is a high damage threshold. Even chopping off 50% damage, they're going to be multiple hits, but in the end of the day you're going to deal 250% damage to that enemy. So really good stuff, really interesting. Can't wait to test it and see exactly what it does. But this looks like a pretty neat and interesting ability. I of course have played Lutfi in different various versions of the game, but I can't wait to own him, to really test him. And plus, you know, these characters are always wonky when you can play them through the story and so on and so forth. You never know what's going on. Sometimes they just have outright weird traits and abilities that just don't match with what the release is. So when he comes out, can't wait to test it. We'll get a guide. Next ability is the last but definitely not least, and that's the Flame of Destruction. It's a 3 energy cost with no cooldown. Inflicts 2 layers of ignite, and I'm sure it's ignition. And then, of course, it turns those tiles into burning tiles, which lasts for 2 turns. And so this is a great way to get more life loss out, another debuff, and of course you're affecting that terrain, so it's fantastic utility. Can't wait to see this in action. I'm sure this is an ability that a lot of people use on Lutfi, and I can't wait to use it. Honestly, his whole kit just kind of seems crazy. I can see myself wanting a lot with Lutfi. He's almost worth, you know, going in on a few Castalia. Maybe Sword of Convallaria is going to get their way and get me to buy that daggum new material that's going to allow me to unlock everything. But regardless, can't wait. His kit is massive. It is overloaded. There's absolutely a ton to look at and consider with Lutfi. With that all said, Lutfi's ratings are pretty decent. I was kind of shocked with everything I had found and put together. Of course, this is not final. We won't know until the guide is out. But his ratings aren't as high as I thought they were going to be. I thought he's going to be like our new strongest character in the game. Estra's still holding that rank with a total value of 62, but he's right in there and up there and behind her. He is coming in with 12 in his physical damage, a 2.5 in his tanking, a 0 in healing, a 0 in magic damage, a 6 in his buffs, an 18.5 in his debuffs, and an 18 in his utility, giving him a total value of 57 points. Absolutely tier 0. His ability to debuff, and then of course to move units, to move himself, and so on and so forth. He is massive. Lutfi is going to absolutely be a ton of fun to play. He's got a ton of technical abilities. His kit's absolutely jam-packed, and he is easily one of the strongest characters in the game without any trying, without any effort. So can't wait to see him. Can't wait to play him. That ranking at 57, you can feel very comfortable pulling for him. In fact, I would urge you to pull for him because he is an absolute reflection of the power creep in the direction of the game, and he is going to be making a statement on his release. He's going to definitely impact future content for a good long time to come, I would imagine. With that said, the very last thing we want to look at is the tarots. And so I know that a lot of people don't believe in this and that there's a legal reason why this wouldn't necessarily work or impact the game, but I have seen from a lot of different people's feedback that this has been a great thing for them and has helped to show a lot of success. And so let's take a look at Lutfi's banner art and try to figure out where it matches. And as you can see on this image I've posted right here, I see 2 tarot cards linking with him. I think the tarot card that links with him the strongest is the Temperance card. However, I think he also links with the Chariot card, much like Aisha, who linked with the Sun and the Moon. But without going too much further into it, let's take a look at what links him to those cards. And so first and foremost, the scene that he is in, of course, is a chess battle. There's chaos, pieces are breaking, things are falling apart, even the chessboard in which he's utilizing. However, he's just there. He still has his hand on his piece. You could say his pawn. It's not a pawn, it's a knight. But he has his hand on his piece, and he's still going with the flow, continuing. That is the Temperance card in its embodiment, in its essence. Just like the Temperance is sitting there, they have the same similar look, which is that blue circle, illustrating how they are unmoved and unfettered by their surroundings and what's happening. And that hand in the stream is to say they still have a hand in their surroundings, their fate, if you will, but they're holding their resolve and they're remaining vigilant. That is absolutely the story of Lutfi. And Going further, we can take a look at the green circle. That's that hand illustrating the connection and whatnot there. If you take a look at the red circle, that's the chessboard. It's falling apart. It's falling down, just like the waterfall. The water's flowing. Life continues. Life goes on. And despite that, he just stays vigilant, unmoved, unfettered. Another thing that we can see with the Temperance card is the water and the reflection being lifted up. I think that's very important because part of Temperance is reflecting on what's going on around you and not being ignorant of it, but just remaining vigilant through it. And so we see that with the chessboard. There is a clear reflection of what is going on the chessboard and in and around Lutfi, but yet, despite reflecting on it and doing so, he is holding his vigil. So we can also see at the top of the card, which this is also in the Chariot, the black circles. The black circles symbolize what I have found to be the peace. The Roman numeral XIV is 14. If you count the number of pieces on the board taking place, you have 14 pieces in total. The pieces falling, the pieces on the board, the piece in his hand, and then the larger pieces battling around him make a total of 14. And then if you look at the Chariot, which that has the Roman numeral 7, there are 7 pieces on the board if you include the one on his hand still in play. And so the Chariot is all about remaining vigilant despite adversity, despite being pulled by fate, staying strong, staying on course, and not being deterred from your goals. That is absolutely the story of Lutfi as well. And so we see that with that connection of the 7 and the pieces. We also see on the Chariot the horses. We see the horse with the knight in the background. However, it should be noted that with the horses on the Chariot, one is a light colored horse and one is a dark colored horse, symbolizing, the balance between both, like say yin and yang, and so on and so forth, different adversities, and holding vigilant. We can see that in his banner art as he's holding the white horse and he's got the dark horse behind him. Just like in the image of the Chariot, the white horses or lighter horses up front and the darker horses in the back, and they are facing the same direction. And then also we have the helmet. It is incredibly similar to the helmet as to what is on the knight, with the Chariot and the knight behind Lutfi. I don't think that's ironic. Even the, I don't know what to call it, but like the hair, the flare, or whatever off the helmet, it's similar. It's there, and we don't see it on anyone else's helmets. And then, of course, we have the cape on the Chariot. That's just a little something extra. We see that color, that dark purple. We see that on Lutfi's ribbons. We also kind of see it in his cape as well. But for that reason, and for those reasons that I've listed, I see a huge symbolic connection between these tarots. And of course, as I've explained, his story and how he has absolutely been someone who has been vigilant and determined in his story. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. So those are the 2 tarot cards I would absolutely recommend utilizing when pulling for Lutfi. And yeah, that is everything in a nutshell. Lutfi is an absolutely busted character, does a ton of debuffing, has a ton of utility in his ability to summon and move and do and so on and so forth, and even create some flame tiles. I cannot wait to have him, cannot wait to use him. It seems like he's even going to have some utility as far as tanking and wasting enemies' times. He's going to go in there with that dodge, hit them back for trying to hit him, and then of course get energy back for doing so. That's absolutely massive. He's going to be debuffing his enemies just for being near them, give them life loss just for being near them. Oh man, it's going to be a ton of fun. He's an absolutely must pull in my opinion, and from what I am reading in his kit and what I see. And so I'd urge you to go out and go for him. A huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. Thank you so much for all your support. It really means the world to me. You're definitely the ones that allow me to go for these characters and to create the content and the guides for our community. So huge shout out to you and thank you. There is a link down below for anyone who's interested in joining our Patreon. There's also a link for our Discord where we talk all things Sword of Convallaria and then some. We'd be more than happy to have you in our community. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I hope you have the best of luck in your sort of Convallaria adventures, and if you're making any pulls for Lutfi, I absolutely hope you have the most success in doing so. Make sure you leave me your feedback and let me know. Did the tarots work? What are your thoughts? All of it. I'm highly interested. Without anything else being thrown at you, thanks again. And until next time, I'll catch you later. Bye.